And welcome to, let me get the song off there. Welcome to the Sports Skillet live stream. We do this every Friday. We want to thank you for joining us. We want to make sure that you know to tune in to our show on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. You can find that, of course, on 920 a.m. Also on sportsskilletradio.com. Click on the Listen Live tab, or even better yet, go to sportsskilletradio.com. Click on our mobile app. You can download it. You get all the fine programming on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey, as well as Sports Skillet radio show, where we bring on really good guests whenever we can, discuss fascinating topics. This week we will have on the coach, Shane McGowan. We always have him on. We also have another surprise guest. I'll let you tune in Sunday morning to find out who that is, but you want to make sure to tune in as we go over the NFL draft results, talk a little Giants, talk a little NFL, some other issues going on. The top of this, we want to make sure that you and your family, your friends are all staying safe, staying healthy, and staying safe, obeying the rules wherever you are tuning in from. Just obey the rules. Continue to self-quarantine. We are going to get through this. Things are progressing. We're going to bring on Mike Nebbia, hopefully in a few minutes. Talk a little NASCAR with him. Lots going on with that. Some big NASCAR news coming on. We also would have had the 146th running of the Kentucky Derby this weekend. Tomorrow, actually. We're doing this on Friday, so we would have had that tomorrow. Unfortunately, it has been postponed until September 5th. You wonder how that is going to affect the Kentucky Derby. That might give some of these younger horses that are running it a little bit more of an advantage than they would have had if they would have run it tomorrow. Why? Because they're going to be a little bit more comfortable. Maybe they will run in a few more races. So that gives them that much more experience before September 5th. So it could turn out to be more of an interesting race. Maybe some of these longer shots instead of the favorites actually come through, actually pay off. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that, see how it's going to be effective. What I will say is that coming up tomorrow on NBC, they will have a nice little special on American Pharoah, leading up to American Pharoah's Triple Crown win. They're going to do a special there. And then what's going to be really interesting, taking a page out of the NASCAR handbook, they are going to run a virtual race of all the Triple Crown winners. And let me run them down for you. Affirmed in 1978, Assault in 1946, Secretariat in 1973, Sir Barton 1919, Seattle Slew 1977, American Pharoah in 2015, Gallant Fox 1930, Citation 1948, War Admiral 1937, Whirlaway 1941, Count Fleet 1943, Justified 2018, and Omaha 1935. So apparently they're going to put all the horses' intangibles, stats, whatever into a blender, and they're going to do this thing the same way, kind of, I guess, they've been running these NASCAR races, except these are going to be horses. And NBC is going to run this virtual race between all the Triple Crown winners to see maybe who the computer picks out as the ultimate Triple Crown winner. We want to know what you think. Who do you think, out of all those Triple Crown winners, who would you be rooting for? Would it be somebody recently, like maybe American Pharaoh, or maybe Justify in 2018? Maybe Seattle Slew, 1977? Or would it be somebody from 1935, like Omaha, or Assault in 1946, or Sir Barton 1919, when Sir Barton won the Triple Crown? Who would you be rooting for? Who do you think is going to come out on top? Tweet us, Facebook us, Instagram us, comment here on our YouTube live stream. Let us know what you think about this virtual race. Will you be tuning into it? Do you care about it? As I say, this would have been Kentucky Derby Saturday, Kentucky Derby weekend, but unfortunately, being in the situation that we're all in, everybody's self-quarantined, the race has been pushed back to now September 5th, so no running of the Kentucky Derby until then, but they will have this virtual race that could be interesting to watch, to see who the computer picks as the ultimate Triple Crown winner. I'm going to go on the record. I'll say it myself. I am going to go with, looking at the list here, I'm going to go with American Pharaoh 2015. I'm going to go with American Pharaoh. I think, not that I'm a big horse racing guy, but I'm going to say that today's horses are probably more developed, more athletic, for whatever term that means, than horses from years ago. So I'm going to say American Pharaoh is going to take it from 2015. Who do you think is going to take it in your mind? We want to know. Remember to go on our social media sites, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Spread the word about Sports Skillet, how well we do our live stream, how well we do our show on Sunday mornings. And make sure you subscribe, because you never know when we're going to do one of these live streams over the course of the weekend. Got some over-unders to go over with you as well. See what you think about these over-unders. Going to do the NFC. We'll do the AFC next week. Cowboys are listed right now. We're going to, because we're associated with Fox Sports, we are on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock. We're going to go with Fox Sports Bet right now. Now, things may change because the schedule is going to drop next week. That will be exciting. So we'll go over that as well on our live stream and on our show next week. But as of now, before the schedule drops, and this may change, I reserve the right to update this. But as of now, before the schedule drops, here's what I think. Cowboys are listed at 9 wins. Do I think they will be ultimately over or under 9? That one's going to be pretty tough. I am going to go over 9 wins. I'm going to go over 9 wins for the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's going to be a dogfight between the Cowboys and the Eagles for supremacy in the NFC East. I will go over 9. I think Cowboys, their offense is primed for a big season. You have the new wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, taking number 88, historical number in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Drew Pearson, Dez Bryant, Michael Irvin, all three of those guys, historic in the history of the Dallas Cowboys, all won number 88. Before he even steps on a football field, before he even has a practice, he hasn't even met his team yet, and CeeDee Lamb is taking number 88. I think that is a mistake. If I were the Cowboys, I would have held back. I would not have allowed CeeDee Lamb to have taken it. Why? I want to see him in a practice. I want to see him go through a season before I give out that number to a wide receiver. I know these guys, Pearson, Dez, Michael Irvin may be okay. I'm not okay with him taking that. I would have wanted CeeDee Lamb to go through at least one season, see how he looks in a Cowboy uniform before handing him out. I think it's way too early to give somebody that hallowed number for the Dallas Cowboys. But I think ultimately I see the Cowboys around a 10-win team. I will go over there. Giants at 6.5. Do I think Giants will have more or less wins than 6.5? I think that is a good number for the New York Football Giants. I am going to go under that. And I think the Giants have had a very good draft. Tune in for our special guest on Sunday morning. But I think the Giants have had a good draft. I really do. However, I think the fact that they have a new coaching staff in place, they're bringing in some new guys. I think the Giants are going to struggle a little bit. I think a lot of these teams with the new head coaches, new coaching staff, some new players are going to come in. I think they will struggle at the outset because of the shortened camp that they're probably going to have. Shortened preseason. I think whenever they start up, be it in September or October, what have you, I think those teams with the new staffs, some new players coming in that they're going to be depending on, are going to struggle at the outset, and I think that could cost them some wins, maybe even a playoff spot in some instances. I think the Giants come in just under 6.5. They may be about a 6-win team. But I do believe they're headed in the right direction. It's just that this self-quarantining, not being able to really get the OTAs and the training camp as they would normally, I think that's going to affect them. Eagles are listed at 9.5. Fox Bet is giving the Eagles a half point more than the Dallas Cowboys. I really like the Eagles draft. A lot of people are criticizing the Eagles draft, and I understand that. I see where you're coming from, but I'm going to tell you, I like the Eagles draft. People are going to call me a homer. No, I'm looking at it through a wide-angle lens, and you look at the Jalen Hurts pick. Here's something that hasn't been said. I'm saying it right now. How did Carson Wentz, and I brought this up on our show Sunday, tune in. I brought this up. The Jalen Hurts pick. You look at Carson Wentz. He has not been able to finish a playoff season that the Eagles have had. He has gotten hurt in each of the playoff seasons. Now, I have gone to war. I have gone to battle, saying that last year's injury was in no way, shape, or form Carson Wentz's fault. I don't put that on Carson Wentz. The other injuries that he's had previously, with the rib and the leg and what, okay, I'll put that on Carson Wentz. Last year, I'm not. But I will say this. You can't ignore the fact going forward that he hasn't been able to finish a playoff season. He was going to, until that quote-unquote illegal hit. He wasn't flagged, wasn't penalized, but it was kind of a dirty hit on Carson Wentz, giving him a concussion, taking him out of the game. But here's the thing. They looked at Jalen Hurts, one of the better quarterbacks. Yes, I know he was drafted in the second round, but you go in, you look at what Jalen Hurts brings to the table, you look at his collegiate career, he has done significant things throughout his collegiate career, is able to move around, may not have as much mobility as some of the other quarterbacks, may not have the arm talent of, some of the other, but you look at the entire package and what he brings to the table. And you look at what Carson Wentz hasn't been able to do, like I said. And here's the key point of it. I went in and I did it, and you can do the same thing. Just go in and do a Google search for concussions. And the Eagles have not said this because I do believe it's still a dirty word throughout some NFL circles. I don't believe the Eagles wanted to mention it and throw that fear out there, but I'm going to put it out there. is the fact that Carson Wentz ended his season with a concussion. Google it. And you'll find that some doctors say that once you get your first concussion, you're maybe up to 3 times more likely to get more concussions after that. Carson Wentz ended his season with a concussion. You look at some other players throughout the NFL. I'm not saying that Carson Wentz is going to get future concussions. I hope he's not. But I think what the Eagles are doing smartly is covering their back end and saying if Carson Wentz is now going to be prone to getting more concussions, and when you get a concussion as an NFL player, we don't know when that player is coming back. They're sitting out at least the next game, if not multiple games, if not maybe the rest of the season, depending on how bad that concussion is. So I don't blame the Eagles for looking at it and saying, you know what, not only does he have an injury history, now we're adding the concussion risk on top of that. Let's go out, let's cover our backside. And here's the other thing too. Carson Wentz's contract. Now, I hope that Carson Wentz proves to be healthy, proves to be more durable, does not suffer another injury, leads the Eagles to multiple Super Bowl titles. But here's the thing. You look at Carson Wentz's contract, and in a couple of years, it becomes a little more feasible for them to be able to get out from underneath it because of their cap hit. And I hope that Carson Wentz remains the franchise quarterback, but if you're able to groom Jalen Hurts over the next couple of years as a quarterback, and you see him in practice, and he continues to improve, and at the same time you're putting in multiple packages for Jalen Hurts. I mean, you can do with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts on the field at the same time. You can put multiple option packages in there to stifle a defense, to keep the defense on its heels, not knowing where the ball's going. Could it be going to Rager? Could it be going to Deshaun Jackson? Could it be going to Zach Ertz? Could it be going to the running back? You can do different things with Jalen Hurts and continue to groom him as a quarterback. And here's the thing. If Carson Wentz's injury history continues to be a bugaboo, then maybe, just maybe, when his contract starts coming up and we get a couple more years down the road into it, maybe the Eagles want to move Carson Wentz. Now, here's the other thing I'll throw out there. Where could they possibly move him to? Well, here's a thought. How many more years do you think Phillip Rivers has as the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts? Maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe. So, might the Eagles, and who is currently the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts? Frank Reich. Who was there as offensive coordinator when the Eagles drafted Carson Wentz? Frank Reich. So I just wonder, maybe the Colts transition a couple years from now when Carson Wentz's contract becomes a little bit more appealing. Maybe the Indianapolis Colts transfer from Phillip Rivers over to Carson Wentz, give the Eagles a nice package for Carson. They have the chance to keep building their organization. Now, all of a sudden, you have this quarterback on your team in Jalen Hurts that you've been grooming for a couple of years. That by all everybody's what they've been writing about him, everybody's opinion, he's a great leader, a great team guy, has mobility. You've been grooming him for a couple of years, and he's going to be way less expensive than Carson Wentz because you're giving him a new contract, yes, but he's not going to be making anywhere near the 30, 40, whatever million dollars that Carson Wentz is going to be doing. So now throughout the next couple of years. Maybe you add even more weapons. You trade Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts a couple of years from now when his contract becomes more appealing, and then you go with Jalen Hurts as your starting quarterback. Not a far-fetched idea in my book, because now you're getting Jalen Hurts at maybe, in the teens, maybe $20 million you give him. Maybe a little bit more than that. Certainly not anywhere near what Carson Wentz is making. So now you're able to add even more talent around Jalen Hurts. I think what you're going to be seeing down the road, and again, I think down the road, that's what you're going to be seeing out of the Philadelphia Eagles. It could be, I hope Carson Wentz remains the quarterback. But there's two other things that may be going through the minds of Doug Peterson, the offensive staff. Remember, Doug Peterson brought in some guys that are good offensive coaches that are giving him fresh eyes on the organization. He reached out to some of these guys, brought them in there as coaches, kept some guys on the team. So some of these coaches that are coming in from the outside are giving Doug Peterson and these other coaches their fresh opinion on what they see about the Philadelphia Eagles. So again, there you go. Something to munch on, something to consider. The concussion thing with Carson Wentz, and maybe down the road, Carson Wentz joins Frank Reich in Indianapolis, taking over for Phillip Rivers. Just some things I will throw out there, some off-the-wall stuff. And you remember where you heard it first, right here on Sports Skillet. So if and when it comes to fruition and you hear more about the concussion thing with Carson Wentz and how it was smart for the Eagles to draft Jalen Hurts, you heard it right here on Sports Skillet Radio. Some other thing that just came out via Derek Gunn, who's very plugged in to players on the Eagles, to Jason Peters, to Eagles front office. He put out something saying that it's only a matter of time before the Eagles re-sign offensive tackle Jason Peters, bringing him back into the nest. I think that could be a good idea, because you look at what the Giants did, you look at what the Redskins have done. Redskins drafted maybe the top player, pure player in the draft as a defensive end. Eagles are going to have to contend with that. Giants drafted a lot of defensive talent in this draft. The Eagles are going to have to contend with that. I don't believe that Jason Peters is a starting offensive tackle. I think you have to figure out this year what you've got in Dillard at offensive tackle. But I do believe Jason Peters does bring value to the Eagles organization. He's been there. He knows the offensive line. He knows the coaching staff. So in this year where everything is being probably going to be condensed and you're going to have to get people up to speed as quickly as you possibly can, having a leader like Jason Peters back on the team, helping the new offensive linemen that are coming to the Eagles adjust, learn the playbook, know their responsibilities. I think as a backup to Dillard, as long as they're not paying him a ton, I think that would be a good marriage. Just bringing him back, being another set of eyes on the sidelines, maybe so he can help coach up Dillard if he sees Dillard making mistakes, and having Peters there if Dillard doesn't work out. Having Peters there, just being able to insert him would be good for the Philadelphia Eagles, because that would be a seamless transition, right? So I think both ways, bringing back Jason Peters, as long as it's a good contract for the team, for Jason Peters. He's not going to be able to make the money on the free agent market that he thought he was going to be able to make. He's not getting that starting opportunity because now free agency is over, the draft is over, teams have gotten their personnel in order. We're going through the second wave, is what I call it, of free agency. Some players are getting released, not getting tendered, so that's creating some free agents there. So there we go. So that's what you have right there in terms of Jason Peters probably returning to the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, as a backup, all for it. Let's see what Dillard has, and let's run with it. So that's where I stand on that. We kind of got off track a little bit. Redskins, 5 wins. I think that's probably a good number for the Washington Redskins. I will go with the over on the Washington Redskins. I think they'll end up probably around 6 wins. I like their draft. I think they got one of the best, if not the best player in the draft at defensive end. But again, you're bringing in a new coaching staff. We don't know what Haskins is going to be able to do under the new regime. Is he going to struggle initially? Again, new coaching staff, new thought processes, new ways of doing things, new schemes, new terminology. So again, I think that could hurt the Redskins initially, but I think overall, I think Ron Rivera is going to do well. I picture him at 6 wins as he starts getting the Washington Redskins back into being a viable playoff team. So I would go with the over for the Washington Redskins. They have the Bears listed at 8. I'm going under that. They did not tender Mitch Trubisky, his 5th year tender. They did not do it. So this is going to be it for Mitch Trubisky unless he wins the job from our good friend Nick Foles, which I don't foresee. I think they got a good head coach in place, but I don't foresee Mitch Trubisky outdoing Nick Foles. I think at some point, maybe at the start of the season, Nick Foles becomes the starter at quarterback for the Chicago Bears. I don't see them getting 8 wins. I think they're going to be less than that. So I will take the under there. Lions 6.5. They're a tricky team. I think I would take the under with the Lions. Not impressed with their head coach. I will go with the under. I would say 5 maybe wins for the Lions. Packers at 9. I am going to go under that. I know Aaron Rodgers is going to have a huge chip on his shoulder, but right now they got this quarterback controversy going on with the Green Bay Packers and their draft pick trading up to get him. So I am going to go under 9 with the Green Bay Packers. They didn't give Aaron Rodgers any more offensive weapons. That's going to hurt him, especially with some of the other teams improving in the draft. You can only put so much weight on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders, as good as he is. I don't see the Packers getting 9 wins. I'm going to go under that. I think, and the thing with Matt LaFleur, we got to remember too that Matt LaFleur, the head coach, is a part of this because he could have told the general manager, no, I don't want this quarterback. I want to ride with Aaron Rodgers. I want to bring in more talent. I want to keep our Super Bowl window open as long as I can. Let's go wide receiver. Let's go running back. Let's get Aaron Rodgers an awesome offensive line. Let's go offense in the draft. And let's do that. But again, Matt LaFleur, nope. Agrees with the general manager. They draft a quarterback, trade up for him. So I see the Packers, with everybody else improving the way they are, I don't see the Packers getting 9 wins. I would take the under with the Packers. Vikings at 8.5. I think the Vikings are going to still be a good team. I'm going to go with the over. I think the Vikings can get at least 9 wins. Again, we'll see what their schedule's like, but, before the schedule's released, I think the Vikings can get 9 wins. Falcons, 7.5. Falcons are a tricky team. I'll go over with the Falcons. I think the Falcons can get at least 8 wins. Panthers, they got them at 6.5. I'm going to go over with the Panthers. And call me crazy, but I think Matt Rule, the new Panthers head coach, he's a good builder. He can inspire the team. So I think they also had a good draft. Drafted, like some other teams, drafted a lot on the defensive side. So I think Matt Rule is saying, hey, I can make do with the offense. Let's strengthen my defense, build that sucker up. And I think 6.5, I will go over. Saints, 10.5. This is going to be a tricky one. Do we think the Saints could get 11, 12, 13 wins as currently constructed? And again, you look at their division, what they have to go through. I am going to go under that. I'm going to say Saints with 10 wins, just because of the strength of their schedule. They're going to be facing some very good teams. I think it's going to be a struggle for them to get 11, 12 wins this year. So I'm going to take the under. But they will be right around that 10-win mark. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 9.5, with Brady, with Gronk, with his offensive weapons. Can Tom Brady get 10, 11 wins with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year? Some people have said that the way Tampa Bay likes to run their offense is to push the ball down the field. That's not something that Tom Brady does right now, so we will see about that. I will go over with the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers, similar to the Saints, I think Buccos will get 10 wins this year, be a playoff caliber team. I'm going to go with 10 wins for the Buccaneers. Arizona Cardinals, they list at 7.5. This one's going to be tricky. I'm going to go over with the 7.5. I think the Cardinals will get at least 8 wins this season. You look at Kyler Murray, another year, more experience, has an awesome wide receiver now, DeAndre Hopkins, that he can feed the ball to. I think they can do some creative things. Not that they weren't last year, but now with DeAndre Hopkins out there, they can do some creative things. I think that 8 wins is possible for the Arizona Cardinals. Much improved. I will take the over with the Arizona Cardinals. Rams at 8.5. I think that may be around where the Rams are. I see the Rams maybe at 500, maybe a little bit above. I'll go with the over. I say they get to 8-8. I'll take the over with the Rams, but it's going to be another struggle from them. Maybe they put the Super Bowl hangover behind them, but I will go over with the Rams. 49ers 10.5. Again, another team I think did well last weekend in the draft. They replaced their offensive tackle with the offensive tackle from the Washington Redskins, All-Pro. How much does he have left in the tank? He taking a year off. What's he going to have coming in? Similar to Gronk, I believe he allowed his body to heal in his contract dispute with the Redskins. So I will say the 49ers get to 11 wins. Another strong draft for them. Another year of experience for Jimmy G in the offense. Kyle Shanahan, again, another year of learning, another year of being around Jimmy G, learning his pros and cons, his strengths, his weaknesses. So I think the 49ers can get to 11 wins as they are currently constructed. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks, 9.5. We saw what Seattle did last year. I mean, they were decimated at the running back position heading into the playoffs. They beat another decimated team in the Philadelphia Eagles. We see what Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll are able to do year after year with that ball club. So 9.5, I think that's a good number for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go over. I think Seattle can get to 10 wins. I don't think the running back position is going to be as banged up as they were last year. Putting the ball in Russell Wilson's hands, when the odds are against him, is normally a pretty good thing. So I think 10 wins is possible for the Seattle Seahawks. And again, this is post-schedule drop-in, so we'll see how many picks I decide to change up next week. We'll also be doing some AFC. If there's a team I missed in the NFC that you would like me to go over or you would like to hear from, feel free to join in our live stream. You can type in the comments. You can tweet us, Instagram us, Facebook us. Let us know what you think about the upcoming NFL season. Coming up next, I'm going to try to see if Mike Nebbia is available, and we'll bring him on the show. Mike always has some good opinions there, so you want to stay tuned. Mike Nebbia is going to be on the other side. So right now, what we're going to try to do is take a quick break here. Let's see if I can get the commercial ready, and it is. So we will come back on the other side. Hopefully have Mike Nebbia talking some Giants with us and how he thinks the draft went, and we'll be right back with Mike, hopefully after this.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Like, follow, and share.
Remember the TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name? Never been there. But every time I walk into Wildflowers restaurant on Pennington Circle, I feel at home and that I belong. Friday night, I headed over to Wildflowers, and even though it was packed, I easily found a seat at the bar and got cozy with 17 TVs. Baseball, golf, entertainment TV, you name it, including all NFL games. The bartender Dave suggested I order the Buffalo Wing Sampler, and you could tell he was a fervent fan. But reviews on Wildflowers Inn Restaurant Facebook page demanded I tried the garbage truck pizza, and Kelly had just arrived and promised to help me dig in. Then it came. Garbage truck pizza does not live up to its name because it smells amazing and it tastes even better. Freshly sliced peppers and pepperoni, garlic, mushrooms, mozzarella, and meatballs all baked on this incredibly crunchy and warm double crust to hold it all together perfectly. Heaven, especially with one of their 23 beers on tap. I'm a believer. Go to wildflowersinrestaurant.com for more info or just come in. They are conveniently located on the Pennington Circle, right near I-95. I promise you, they will welcome you warmly, feed you well, and perhaps soon even know your name.
Listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Make sure you like, follow, and share.
All right, and we are back here on the Sports Skillet live stream. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you always join us whenever we go live. We go live at different times. Remember, like we said, head over to sportsskilletradio.com. You can download our app right there, so you get not only our show, but you get all the other programming on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. Get some national shows in there. You always want to catch up with the great programming on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. You want to be able to hear us whenever we go on Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. So you always want to subscribe. Hit us up on our social media accounts as well, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So right now what we are going to do is try to give Mike a call and see what's going on with Mike Nebbia this week. We are going to go with the Home Sports Skillet Hotline. Hey, Mike, it is Jay. How are you doing self-quarantining this week?
I've been better.
I know we all have. How are you and your family holding up?
We're trying as best we can.
That's good. That's really all we can do. Stay safe, try to stay sane, and staying healthy. That's the best we can all do, at this point. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, we get on the other side of this and things start opening up. I mean, in New Jersey this week, we're going to have some parks opening up. We're going to have some golf courses opening up as well. So that'll get some more people outside in this hopefully nice weather this weekend. So that's at least a positive sign that things are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I hope a select group of knuckleheads don't screw us up.
I agree with you there. And that's the other thing too. Although you can go to the park, remember to wear your mask, bring it with you. Remember to continue self-quarantining if you're out there, and do what the local officials and everybody and those guys and the CDC is telling you to do. They're the ones who are in charge of everything, are giving everybody daily updates. But remember to protect yourselves, protect your family, because you could infect somebody you don't even know. That's the whole key to this. So we want sports to come back. We want to get back to our normal routines as quickly as we can. And the way to do that is continue to listen to the CDC, listen to your local officials, do what they say, continue to quarantine yourself, because the sooner we get sports back, the sooner we get back to our regular routine, everybody will be much happier, I think.
Yeah, the sooner we get sports back, the better.
And
the sooner I'll have something to write about.
Yes, that would be awesome. And speaking of getting some sports back, Mike, we are going to get some sports back, though no fans will be in the stands. I heard a rumor right up your alley here that NASCAR is coming back May 17th.
Rumors are true. NASCAR returns May 17th at the Lady in Black, Darlington. One of my favorite tracks on the circuit, by the way.
Awesome. And that will be an official race. It will count, correct?
Correct. It'll be an official points race. First of, I think, 7 or 8 straight races in 11 days.
Now, for those who don't know, that's a pretty grueling schedule for a NASCAR driver, correct?
Yes. The first race back will be May 17th at 3:30 p.m. That'll be over on Fox. Then the Xfinity guys will take their turn for a Tuesday night event on FS1 at 7:30. Then Wednesday, 500 kilometers for the Cup guys at 8 on Fox Sports 1. That would be Darlington. The following week, Memorial Day weekend, of course we're going to have the Coke 600 at 6 p.m. on Fox. Then, I believe, Monday, we are going to have the Xfinity guys doing their thing at Charlotte. Tuesday, Truck Series. And then Wednesday, 500 kilometers for the Cup guys at Charlotte.
Awesome. It will be great getting these guys back on the track, getting everybody into racing mode again. Now, what challenges do you think racing in that shorter period of time? Because usually there's a gap in between races. What particular challenges do you think these drivers, these racing teams will face having those races condensed into a short period of time?
Well, obviously, the lack of a layover time, that's for sure. There's also going to be challenges for Matt Kenseth, the new announced driver for the 42. Remember, he has not been in one of these cars since the end of the 2017 season. Full time, by the way. He's not been in a Cup car officially since 2018, so he's been on a 2-year layover from the Cup Series. Plus, they have an all-new package, so it will take some time for Kenseth to get used to this new rules package.
Gotcha. Anything else you think will affect Kenseth being in the car, having not driven in that long of a time?
Well, not much.
Okay.
I don't think much will affect Kenseth because he is a veteran. He is a 2-time 500 champion. He is the 2003 Series champion. And at Ganassi, he's reunited with his old teammate, Kurt Busch.
Gotcha. Now, being off for as long as they have, May 17th coming up, right now, right off the top, who do you think would have an advantage in that race on May 17th?
At Darlington?
At Darlington, yeah.
Well, right off the top, I'm going to say Kyle Busch because he has won there a few times before. I'd like to say Chase Elliott, but considering Chase's first race there where he wrecked on lap 6, this track has presented more than its fair share of problems for the young Dawsonville, Georgia native. So I'd like to see Chase do well at Darlington. I'd like to hear that siren go off at the Dawsonville pool room, but it probably won't be at Darlington for Chase Elliott.
Gotcha. And you said this track at Darlington presents issues for the drivers, not only from having been off for so long, but should they encounter problems with their car, be it mechanically, something goes wrong with the engine or with the tires, what happened?
This track is extremely abrasive on tires.
Yeah.
I have the fuel window for this race at around 45 to 48 laps, but when it comes to tires, you'll be needing them a lot sooner than you need fuel. I can tell you that much right now.
Gotcha. And
we'll be seeing drivers run up close to the wall, which will result in something we call Darlington stripes. You want to escape this track without getting a few of those stripes.
Gotcha. So if there's a crash, how do you think this could affect some of the drivers points-wise going forward? Because if their car crashes, if they encounter mechanical issues, something like that, with the races being so close together and the races counting, how do you think that could affect some of the standings?
They'll definitely take a hit in the points if one of them crashes, or if we see a big crash like we are accustomed to here at Darlington. But with the short period of time in between races, remember we're getting 2 races this week week of May 17th at Darlington. There's a chance for them to make up that ground quickly. Plus, we're getting that September 6th Southern 500, so we'll have another chance for redemption at this track coming up in about 4 months. And that Southern 500, that's going to lead off the chase for the championship. First time Darlington's had a chase race since 2004.
Nice. Very cool.
And throw in those throwback paint schemes, oh my god, they are going to look so slick.
Nice. I like it. So let's turn the page and let's talk about the Giants draft. Giants, with their first pick in the draft, number 4 overall, went for offensive tackle Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. What did you think? And of course, with their second pick, 36 overall in the second round, they took the safety Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. What did you think overall of the Giants' picks? What did you think about their draft? Maybe Andrew Thomas or Xavier McKinney?
McKinney was a good pick at 36. I like McKinney at 36. Thomas was a reach on a lot of draft boards. Maybe Gettleman saw something that we the fans didn't. Maybe Gettleman wanted to counter the Chase Young pick by Washington by getting a big, tough offensive tackle to protect Daniel Jones.
Uh-huh.
But I just saw Andrew Thomas as a reach on my draft board. I had 3 other offensive tackles ahead of Thomas on my board.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Giants fans, a lot of draft experts, a lot of Giants fans absolutely would have agreed with you. Because I was shocked a little bit when I heard Andrew Thomas's name. I was expecting them to go offensive tackle. I was just like you. I was surprised to hear Andrew Thomas's name and not one of the other offensive tackles that were being bandied about by the draft experts and the Giants fans. So I'm right in lockstep with you there, Mike.
Yeah, he was ranked 4th on a lot of draft boards, including my own.
Yep.
I had 3 others ahead of him. I was expecting the Giants to take one of those offensive tackles, but Andrew Thomas took me by surprise.
Yeah, like Wirfs. That was kind of the one that I thought the Giants were going to go with. But apparently, like you said, apparently Gettleman saw something in Andrew Thomas. I also think, with you, I think Xavier McKinney out of Alabama was a good pick for them because you look at what the Cowboys did in their draft, adding CeeDee Lamb. You see what the Eagles were doing in their draft, revamping their wide receiver core. We'll see how good that actually turns out to be. But the Eagles went for speed, and oh yeah, let's get even faster. So you saw the Eagles getting more speed. So I think getting...
I counter that pick.
Yeah. I think getting the safety Xavier McKinney, who I consider to be pretty good at Alabama, I think that was a wise pick because the Giants are going to have to, shut down some of these wide receivers that the Cowboys and the Eagles are going to be throwing out at them 2 games a year now going forward. So I think that was a good pick for the New York Giants. What would you rate their draft overall, Mike? Would you give them A, B, C?
Their draft overall, solid B. They could have done better had they gotten one of those other 3 offensive tackles, but I'd give them a solid B.
Okay, that's fair. Absolutely. Looking around the NFL, just getting your opinion on a couple of things going on. We see now that Joe Burrow is the official starting quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, as the Bengals have released Andy Dalton.
Saw it coming.
Yep. I mean, as soon as they took Burrow 1 overall, you knew Andy Dalton was going to be leaving. They finally, after not being able to work out a trade, released Dalton. Where do you think Dalton might end up?
Where do I think Dalton might end up?
Yeah.
Tough to say, actually. Not many teams are in the market for a quarterback, but I am looking around the league for a potential landing spot, and I'm thinking Washington, of all teams.
Could be.
They're in dire need of a quarterback. Tennessee is in dire need of a quarterback after letting go of Mariota.
Yep.
And another team I think is in need of a quarterback, depending upon what happens with Carr, what happens with their latest acquisition of Mariota, the Vegas Raiders.
I'm not so sure about the Raiders, but my pick would be maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have Gardner Minshew, and that's pretty much about it. I mean, Dalton could come in immediately compete with Minshew for the starting quarterback job. A lot of people on social media have been throwing around the New England Patriots.
No.
I don't see that as a fit. I think Bill Belichick is going to go with Stead as his starting quarterback. I don't see Dalton going there because I think in Belichick's mind, I want to see what Stead has. And, oh, by the way, if we have a bad season, there's going to be a really good quarterback coming out next year. If I have enough draft picks, I can go up and take them. So I think that is maybe in Belichick's mind. So I'm looking at maybe the Jaguars as a good landing spot for Dalton. Also, maybe I'll throw this out there. Maybe the New York Jets. He's not a big flashy guy. He can come in. He can be a backup for the New York Jets. And if the quarterback goes down for whatever reason, he could step right in there. I don't know that you'd have to revamp the offense all that much if Andy Dalton takes over. So maybe the New York Jets might be a fit. Might be a fit there. Maybe, going into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe somebody behind Ben Roethlisberger to win a game or two for them. Because the Steelers have playoff hopes with Roethlisberger, so that might be a fit for him. Yeah, he knows the division, so maybe that might be a good place. But what I am hearing is that it may not take too long before Andy Dalton gets signed by whatever team is going to sign him. So we'll see if Dalton gets signed by the live stream next week. It may not take that long for Andy Dalton to get signed. Want to see if you agree with me on any of my over-unders with the NFC East here. Cowboys wins are listed at 9. Would you go right now, pre-schedule, and I'm putting this out there. We can change our picks once the schedule comes out. But right now, before the schedule comes out, Cowboys, according to Fox Sports Bet, are listed as a 9-win team. Would you go over, under, or push?
I'd actually go push on that one.
Okay. I can see that. Giants at 6.5. Over or under at 6.5?
I'd go just a little over. I'd go 7 wins.
Okay. Eagles at 9.5. Over or under?
Over. 11-5.
Gotcha. I like hearing that. Redskins, 5 wins. Over, under, or push?
A little over. 6-10.
Gotcha. I'll pick out another one, and we'll discuss this too. I want to talk a little bit about Green Bay and everything going on with that team. You got Brett Favre now back in the limelight, pushing out things about Aaron Rodgers and how he may have a chip on his shoulder because the Packers went up in the first round, drafted a quarterback. He's saying that this could signal maybe the end in a couple of years of Aaron Rodgers as a starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, that the Packers may want to trade him. What do you think is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? Maybe not this year because you can't trade him now, but maybe in like 2 or 3 years with Aaron Rodgers. Do you think he'll still remain with Green Bay, or do you think this signals that Green Bay is sending a message to Aaron Rodgers that, hey, we've got possibly your replacement right here, and we may be letting you go in a couple of seasons from now?
I think this may be a message to Aaron Rodgers to step up his performance from last season.
Gotcha. Now, Fox Sports Bet has them at 9 wins. Do you go over, under, or push with them?
I got to go over with them because the drafting of a quarterback in round 1 by Green Bay is a message to Aaron Rodgers to step things up, and I think he will step things up. I think the Packers go 12-4.
Gotcha. Nice. For the Green Bay Packers fans out there, they love hearing that. The Carolina Panthers, new head coach Matt Rule, Fox Sports Bet is giving them win total of 6.5. So would you go over or under that right now?
I would go with them at 7-9.
Okay. I can agree. I can see something like that because you got a new head coach, new scheme coming in there. I said some of these teams with the new head coaches are going to struggle at least initially. They gave the Saints 10.5 wins. So are you going over or under that for Drew Brees and the Saints?
I'm going over that because it's Drew Brees. I'm going 13-3.
Gotcha. Now, here's the big one. They are giving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 9.5 wins. Do you think they can get more or less wins?
I'm going over 13-3. Tampa Bay wins the division on tiebreak.
Gotcha. So they're giving here's another interesting one. They're giving the Arizona Cardinals. Now we know they got a brand spanking new wide receiver to go along with their team. They're giving the Arizona Cardinals 7.5 wins. Do you think they will have more or less?
I think they go 8-8.
Okay. So just a little more. So you're going 8 wins with them. I can see that. 49ers, Super Bowl runner-up, I should say, 10.5 wins. So do you think they'll get more or less than 10.5?
I think they go 12-4.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with that one. Like I said, I think they had a good draft. I think they did a good job at replacing Joe Staley, their offensive tackle. So, yeah, I can definitely see that. The Green Bay Packers doing that. So, I can definitely see the 49ers. Now, going to the Seahawks, 9.5 wins. Russell Wilson. Do you think he can get more or less than 9.5?
I think he can get more. I think he can get 11.
I can see, I'm not going to argue with you on that because I'm not putting anything past Russell Wilson. Again, he and Pete Carroll's kind of simpatico. I said earlier in the live stream that I think the teams that have the new head coaches are going to struggle, whereas the teams that have their quarterback head coaching already in place from last year that didn't make the change are going to have that advantage because of the lack of a preseason, the lack of OTAs, maybe a shorter training camp. So I think that I tend to agree with you. I think that's going to play in Seattle's favor, and I'm not putting anything past Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, and I don't think they're going to be as injury riddled as they were last season. So, any other stories you think I left out that we haven't discussed this week in sports, Mike?
I don't think so. I did hear you discuss that virtual horse race that's...
Yes, the Kentucky Derby. Postponed until September 5th, but tomorrow...
Stuff about that?
Yep.
Because my parents and I usually go to a Kentucky Derby party at my dad's Elks Lodge.
There you go.
It's a big fat barbecue, and I just love to go hog wild at that.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that you guys will be able to do that September 5th because it got postponed. But, being that it's Kentucky Derby weekend, like I mentioned earlier in the show, on NBC, they're going to have a virtual... They're taking a page out of NASCAR's book. They're going to have a virtual race.
NASCAR and IndyCar's playbook, by the way.
Yeah. They're going to
have...
Yeah, they're going to have a virtual horse race. They're taking the stats, I guess, and whatever from all the Triple Crown winners in history, putting them into the computer, and are going to run the Triple Crown horse race, I guess, to find out, computer-wise at least, who would be the greatest Triple Crown winner of all time. So every Triple Crown winner from Affirmed, in 1978, or Sir Barton in 1919, to American Pharaoh in 2015, and Justify in 2018 are going to be racing in this virtual race, and it's going to be interesting. To me, I'll watch it. I think it'll be interesting to see how this comes off. I think the NFL knocked it out of the park with their draft coverage, so I want to see now that, and NASCAR has been knocking it out of the park with their racing. I want to see if NBC can knock it out of the park with this virtual race. They've had a lot of time to get all the bugs and the kinks out of it, so I'm going to be interested to see how this all comes off. I imagine you guys will be watching it too, Mike.
Yeah, I think I'll be watching it. I am not sure if my parents will. Haven't told them about this yet.
Okay.
I probably will.
Definitely. So there you go with that. Mike, I'm going to start wrapping things up. I want to thank you for coming on the live stream today. I know we are running it a little bit late, but I want to thank you for coming on. Can't wait to talk to you again next week, Mike.
Can't wait. I'll see you next week.
All right, Mike. Stay safe, stay sane, and stay healthy. All the best go out to you and your family.
All right, same to you. Later.
All right. Take it easy, Mike. And, of course, that was Mike Nebbia. We always enjoy having Mike on. He knows all the ins and outs about NASCAR and everything. Went over some over-unders. We're going to have the schedule release reaction next week. Also, one more thing I will discuss real briefly that came up. Something I want people to pay attention to going forward. The Eagles, as an undrafted free agent, a couple things real quick, brought in Khalil Tate. He was a quarterback for Arizona. Now, a year or two ago, he was off the charts, mad crazy. People were tuning into Arizona games just to watch the quarterbacking of Khalil Tate. Eagles are bringing him in as a wide receiver. They're not bringing him in as a quarterback. They're going to develop him as a wide receiver. And so his quarterbacking apparently is at least over for the moment for Khalil Tate. But if you watch him, go into YouTube, look at some of the highlights. He is mad crazy as a runner. And I think he's going to be a project, so I think the Eagles will bring him in whatever training camp they have. They'll work with him as a wide receiver. And, as far as what he may develop into, he could be maybe even a better Greg Ward. I hope Greg Ward makes the Eagles' final roster this year. I mean, he's just like flypaper out there catching everything that's thrown to him. And he definitely earned his spot this year on the Eagles' 53-man roster. But Khalil Tate, check out his YouTube highlights. They're really good. Mad crazy. I'm glad the Eagles could bring him in. And I think they're going to try and get him to the practice squad because it's such a going to be probably a short off season. They're not going to have a whole lot of time to work with him. But Khalil Tate, I think, was a good get for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially if he can develop into a good wide receiver, because man, oh man, is he a good runner. And if you ever need an emergency quarterback, which I hope the Eagles don't need down the line, but, a couple of years from now, who knows. But Khalil Tate may be one of those guys that the Eagles can develop as a wide receiver. I'm glad they got him there. The other thing I just want to touch on real quick is the things going on with the NCAA. A ruling came down this past week saying that college athletics are taking a big step forward because the NCAA Board of Governors announced Wednesday that it's supporting the rule changes that would allow athletes to cash in on their names, images, and likeness and social media accounts by January 2021. I think they're a little bit too late to this party because already you're starting to see some basketball players out of high school jump into the G League, take the money from the G League rather than go to college. You can argue whether or not it's a good maneuver for those athletes because you're skipping college. You're not getting that college degree. So what happens if you go to the G League and now you don't make it to the NBA? Where does that leave you? You know, no college degree, no NBA contract. So that's something, yeah, you're going to be making some money, but what happens if you don't make it to the NBA? You know, that's something that the players have to weigh. But, you know, they're going to be making college athletes, the fall of 2021 are going to be making money, are going to have that ability. How it's going to be regulated, we're going to have to wait and see. That's going to be an issue. Again, this kind of opens up a lot of questions regarding that. So if you have an opinion regarding that, how it's going to be regulated, that type of thing, let us know on our social media accounts or right here on Facebook. We'll be happy to chime in with our opinions on it. We'll talk more about that next week. What was interesting that came out is there's at least a rumor going around, maybe it's being bandied about a little bit, that college football may start a little bit later, run into the spring a little bit. The season may get pushed back. The SEC is pushing back on that, and the rumor out there is that the SEC is going to have their normal schedule as they like it. There's a lot of power schools in the SEC, as we know. And you ask yourself, why would the SEC not go along with that? Well, I'll tell you. Look at the draft. Look how many players got drafted out of a school in the SEC. If the SEC were to go with what's being called late winter spring league, like some of the other conferences are considering doing because of this pandemic, now all of a sudden you get those highly touted schools, those highly touted draft prospects playing into what? March, maybe April, depending on when they decide. And what comes up in March or April? We're talking about the NFL draft. The reason why they may push back is you're looking at some of these guys playing for the powerhouses in the SEC saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to risk playing this year because that could negatively affect my draft stock. What happens if the college football season is pushed back and these highly touted draft prospects from the SEC schools say that I'm not going to risk it because I want to get to the combine fully healthy, be able to show the scouts exactly what I can do under the combine conditions. I don't want it, and I got the draft shortly after that. So I want to be as healthy as I can possibly be. If you're pushing back the college football season, it could negatively affect my draft stock, and now maybe I fall, become an undrafted free agent, or I fall from the first to maybe the second, third, fourth round because of my injury. So the SEC is pushing back on that and saying and that's also creating some issues with the NCAA because now you got this big power conference saying, you guys do what you want. We're going to play games within our conference. and we'll crown our own champion, and we'll move along. Now, again, it's not official yet. It's being talked about, but again, the fact that the SEC is kind of maybe putting this out there through their social media challenge to get kind of feedback from the other conferences, from people within their schools, social media, how it may affect them, is really, really interesting and bears watching going forward, because as we say, the SEC is a power conference, does have a lot of draft picks coming out of it, so they may decide to go it on their own and do what they want to do, and I wonder how that'll affect some other colleges, some other universities, some other conferences that are out there, and what that may mean towards players on going to those colleges, kind of pushing back on their schools, saying that, hey, the SEC is doing this, let us start up on time too, because I don't want my draft stock falling. Also, you got to consider this too, as bare bone right now as the XFL is, my oh my, if the NFL starts late, or if college football does go to this late winter, early spring schedule and are playing games in February and March and maybe even, who knows, into April, I mean, right there, that could be the death knell for the XFL. I know they're on a bare bones staff. Everybody has been pretty much jettisoned or furloughed from the XFL, but they still got a few people there. They're like hanging on just by their fingertips to maybe be able to put something together once they see how everything is going with this self-quarantine and what sports are doing. But if the NFL is playing games maybe into February or March, and the college football is playing into the early spring, that could be the death knell for the XFL, because where are you going to get your players from? That could really put the nail in the coffin for the XFL. So again, that bears watching for them as well. We want to thank you for joining us on our Friday live stream. Again, be sure you subscribe, because you never know when we're going to go live. Like, follow, share on our other social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, our hearts, our prayers go out to all the workers in stores, truck drivers, hospital workers, anybody who's working the front lines during this coronavirus epidemic, allowing us to do things, allowing stores to remain open. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and also thank you for tuning in. We hope you and your family and your friends continue to stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, do what, as maddening, as frustrating as it may be at times, do what the hospital workers are telling you, the CDC is telling you, your elected officials are telling you. Hopefully sooner rather than later we get through this, we get to the other side. But we all got to stay smart, wear masks, continue to self-quarantine if that's where you are, and just be smart so that we don't have a second wave of this and we can get back to somewhat of a normal lifestyle. I think my personal opinion is I think we will take some things on the other side from this virus. Maybe we do wear masks when we're out in public somewhat. Maybe not while we're jogging or at a park or something like that, but maybe when we're going to a store, more people are wearing masks than ever before. I know some airlines are saying that you have to wear masks if you go on them. So that may, we don't know what's on the other side, but that may be a more common occurrence. I do think with the NFL draft, you're going to see more cameras in draft eligible players' homes so that they can flip on the cameras and see the jubilant celebrations in players' houses with their families, with their friends, as their name is announced on draft day. So I think that may be a more permanent thing. I enjoyed that. Personally, I enjoy going into the homes of the NFL GMs, head coaches, draft eligible players. I love seeing the reactions to different homes of the GMs and the head coaches. I would love something like that to stay a part of draft day. I think that would be tremendous. I think the coaches and GMs enjoyed that as well. Bill Belichick's dog, comes to mind. What will your memories be from the 2020 NFL Draft? Drop us a line here on our YouTube channel or our social media channels. Let us know. Talk more about that with Jeff. Hopefully he's with us next week. We're going to have some great guests hopefully going forward. Thanks so much, everybody. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Have a great week. And we will see you on our next live stream. Again, stay safe. Stay healthy. And, that's all we can do at this point. So have a great week, and we'll see you on our next live stream.